In this video, I will teach you how to add positive and negative numbers using the number line. First, I will show you how to add two positive numbers using a number line. For example, imagine that you were asked to complete the operation 1 plus 4. Using the number line, you would begin by graphing your first number, which in this instance is 1, and then because I am adding a positive number, 4, I will move to the right 4 units. And so I'm going to draw an arrow pointing in the right direction. And now I'm going to show how I move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4 units, and I land on 5. So now I can say that 1 plus 4 is equal to 5. And I figured out the solution to this operation using a number line. Take a minute to see if you can complete the operation 2 plus 6 using a number line. Pause your video and see if you can do this independently. To complete the operation 2 plus 6 using a number line, I begin by drawing a number line. I then graph the first number in the operation, in this instance 2. From there, because I am adding a positive number 6, I will move in the direction that is right. So that is why I've drawn an arrow pointing in the right direction. Because I'm adding the number 6, I will move 6 units to the right. So here you can see I have moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units to the right and land on the number 8. This tells me that 2 plus 6 equals 8. So in this example, again, I was able to use the number line to complete the operation of adding two positive numbers. It's important to notice that when you have one positive number and you add it to another positive number, your answer will always be a positive number. Now let's talk about how you can add two negative numbers together. Imagine that you were asked to add -3 and -4. That is, complete the operation -3 plus -4. To complete this operation, I would begin by graphing or plotting the first number in my operation, which in this instance is -3. So I will first start off by graphing -3 on the number line. From here, because I am adding a negative number, I will move in the left direction. This is notably different than what we just did before when we were adding positive numbers. When you're adding a negative number on the number line, you always want to move in the left direction, okay? So from -3, I will move 4 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I land on the number -7. So this tells me that -3 plus -4 is equal to -7. Take a minute to see if you can complete the operation -4 plus -5. Pause the video and complete this work independently. To complete this operation, I begin by graphing the number -4 on the number line. You can see that I've done that over here. Then, because I want to add a negative number, that is -5, I'm going to move in the left direction on the number line. So, starting at -4, I move left 5 units because I'm adding -5. So when I do that, I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left, and I land on the number -9. Using the number line, I have determined that -4 plus -5 equals -9. It's important to take note that a negative number plus or added onto another negative number will always equal a negative number. Now let's take a minute to discuss how you can add a positive number to a negative number. So in this example, I have -4 plus +3. Just like I did with my other operations, I will begin by graphing the first number in my operation, -4. So I will draw -4 on my number line. From there, because I am adding a positive number, I will move in the right direction on my number line. So I will move 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, landing on the number -1. This tells me that -4 plus +3 is equal to -1. Take a minute to see if you can complete the operation -3 plus 5. Pause the video and complete this work independently. To complete the operation -3 plus +5 using the number line, I begin by graphing the number -3. Then, because I am adding a positive number, I'm going to move in the right direction on my number line. So I will move 5 units to the right. When I do that, I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units and I land on the number 2. This tells me that -3 plus +5 equals +2. Now let's take a minute to discuss how you can add a negative number to a positive number. For example, I'm starting with the number +4, and to it I am adding -6. Like in all of my other examples, I first begin by graphing the first number in my operation, in this instance the number 4. Now, because I am adding a negative number, I am going to move in the left direction on my number line. So, because I am adding -6, I will move 6 units to the left. When I do that, I move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units to the left, and I land on the number -2. This tells me that 4 plus -6 is equal to -2. Take a minute to see if you can independently complete the operation 3 plus -2. Pause the video and complete this work independently. To complete the operation 3 plus -2, I begin by graphing the first number in my operation, 3. In this instance, because I am adding a negative number, I'm going to move in the left direction on my number line. So, since I am adding -2, I will move 2 units to the left. When I do that, I move 1, 2 units to the left, and I land on the number 1. This tells me that 3 plus -2 is equal to +1. Let's take a minute to recap the topics covered in this video. First, we spoke about adding 2 positive numbers using a number line. We looked at the example 1 plus 4, and we also looked at the example 2 plus 6. From there, we spoke about the concept of adding 2 negative numbers on the number line. We began with the example -3 plus -4 and discovered that it is equal to -7. We also looked at the example -4 plus -5 to discover that that was equal to -9. From there, we moved on to the topic of adding a positive number to a negative number. We started with -4 plus 3, so a negative number plus a positive number, and we discovered that this was equal to -1. It's important to remember that we went over the idea that when you're adding a positive number, you always move in the right direction on the number line. You always move in this direction. So you begin by graphing the first number in your operation, and then you move to the right. And then this is in contrast to when you are adding negative numbers. When you're adding negative numbers on the number line, you move in the left direction, which is what we did in these examples up here. The last topic that we went over was adding a negative number to a positive number. So we started with the number 4 and we added -6. So to solve these sort of operations, we begin by graphing the number 4 and then moving left 6 units to discover, for example, that -4 plus 6 is equal to -2. So if any of the topics in this video were confusing, take a minute to go back and rewatch them. If you still feel unsure, come to class prepared with questions to ask me.